All right, well, welcome back to day two. Hopefully, the first day wasn't too bad. But like I said, we are going to take this slow. So, the whole point of this second video is kind of like a review of what we did yesterday and just adding a few more new parts, okay? But it's mainly a review. So, we are doing a foldable. Luckily, well, you can do it if you want, but you don't really have to because I'm going to post these pictures after. But we are doing a foldable over the properties of Quadratics. So again, almost all of these we talked about yesterday, except we have a couple new ones right here, okay? So we're gonna start up here with the range. Now we've talked about domain and range many times before, okay? And we've actually talked about them even with parabolas, you may not have even noticed. But first we're gonna start inside the foldable with range. And we're going to write the definition over here on the left side. So we're going to start with the range, hopefully you remember, is the set of all y values, okay? The range is the set of all y values. And then we're going to draw a picture in the middle to kind of help us remember it. So if I have a quadratic, right, if I have a parabola, it's going to look something like that most of the time, right? So if you remember from range, we read range from bottom to top, okay? So the range is gonna look like this. So bottom to the top. Now remember, it has arrows, so it doesn't really have a top y value, but we'll get to that later. But remember, range, we read from bottom to top, and it's the set of all y values, okay? Now we move to domain. So domain, hopefully y'all remember this one. We're gonna write the definition on the right side. The domain is the set of all x values, okay? So domain is x values, range is y values. And we're gonna draw a little picture for that too. So we're gonna draw a picture, okay? Now domain, hopefully you remember, we read domain from left to right, okay? So we go left to right when we read the domain. So range, we go bottom to top, domain, left to right, okay? And we'll get more into that. We'll show examples of that later. The next ones, which are kind of reviews, we're gonna start with the vertex, okay? So a lot of y'all on that Google form, you did really well, okay? But what a lot of y'all missed is these two things right here, the vertex and the axis of symmetry. So we're gonna go over them again. So the vertex, if you remember from yesterday, and we're at the definition on the outside. Can y'all see that? There we go. So the vertex is the highest or lowest point on a parabola. Okay? So the vertex is the highest or the lowest point on the parabola. And we're gonna draw a little picture just to help us out. So let's say I have this, right? Let's draw two parabolas so you can see both, okay? So on this one on the left, right? I have a parabola that opens up, okay? So if my vertex is gonna be the highest or lowest point, okay, y'all can't really answer me, but it would be the lowest point. It would be this point down here. This would be the vertex, okay? So if it opens up, the vertex is at the bottom. For this parabola on the right, we have a highest point, right? It's right there. So this would be the vertex, okay? So if it opens up, your vertex is at the bottom of the parabola. If it opens down, your vertex is at the top of the parabola, okay? That's it. That's all it is, just the highest or lowest point, okay? Now moving on to the axis of symmetry. So the axis of symmetry, the definition for that is a line that divides the parabola in half. Okay? It's a line, and imagine it, oh, can't even see that. It's a line that divides the parabola in half. So if I was to draw, a big parabola, something like that, if I was to draw that, the axis of symmetry would be this imaginary line that just cuts right down the middle, right? This would be the axis of symmetry. Axis of symmetry. Okay, that's it. So it's the imaginary line. Okay, and we'll get some more examples where we can kind of practice finding these. Okay, moving down to the bottom two. So on the left, remember, it has a whole bunch of words, right? We have roots, zeros, solutions, x-intercepts, okay? All four of those words mean the exact same thing. And if you remember from yesterday, try to get on the camera, they are where the parabola crosses the x-axis. Okay? Obviously, the x-intercept, if you remember, the x-intercept, the solutions, zeros, roots, all four of those things are where the parabola crosses the x-axis. So, again, let's draw a little picture. So here, I'm going to draw my x and y axis. Okay, I'm going to draw a parabola. Okay, so the x-intercepts, the roots, the solutions, the zeros, they are where my graph crosses the x-axis. Now here, the x-axis goes left to right. So where my parabola crosses would be here and here. So those would be my solutions. Those would be my roots, x-intercepts, all of those words, okay? It's where the parabola crosses the x-axis. That's it, okay? Let's move on to the next one, or the last one on this foldable, y-intercept, okay? And we've talked about the y-intercept many times. So the y-intercept is where, you can probably guess it, the parabola crosses the y-axis. Okay, so same picture. Let's draw it. So I draw my x-axis, my y-axis. We draw a little parabola. Okay, and I know my y-axis goes up and down, right? It's the one right in the middle. Okay. So where my parabola crosses the y-axis, I can follow my graph. It's right down here. That would be my y-intercept, okay? So that would be my answer, right? I have two x-intercepts, two solutions, one y-intercept, okay? And that's about it. That's about all the definitions we need, okay? And again, if you didn't make a copy of this foldable, if you weren't following along, I'm gonna take pictures of it and post it after the video, okay? So let's start looking at some examples, like I was talking about. So first thing we're gonna do is, I can fit it all, is we're looking at three different examples, okay? So I have parabola 1, parabola 2, parabola 3, okay? I wanna know how many solutions do each of these parabolas have, okay? So in this first one, if you remember what solutions mean, that means we're talking about x-intercepts. So what I'm really asking is how many times does my parabola cross the x-axis, okay? So if we start from the left, if we follow it down, it crosses the x-axis, boom, right there, one time, and then we follow it, keep following it, boom, cross it a second time, okay? And then we can keep following it, that's about it. So, to answer to the question, how many solutions does number 1 have? 2 solutions. So that's all you have to write. 2 solutions. I'm not asking you to find them or anything right now, just how many. So 2 solutions is how many number 1 has, okay? Number 2, same thing. How many solutions? How many times does our parabola cross the x-axis? Or how many times does it touch the x-axis for this one? So we follow the parabola, we go down, and boom, look at that. It touches the x-axis right there, okay? Now we follow it, it never touches it again. So the answer to this one, how many solutions does this parabola have? 1 solution. Because it only touches the x-axis 1 time. So see the difference. This one touches it twice, this one touches it once, okay? Now to number 3. Same thing. How many solutions does it have? How many times does our parabola touch the x-axis? Okay, so you can kind of tell already, but we'll do it anyway. So if we follow the parabola, we go up, 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 and it starts to come down, 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 down. And we see that it never, ever, ever touches the x-axis. So this one has no solution, or has none, however you want to write that. So no solution, none solution, or doesn't have a solution, right? So kind of look at the difference here. So 2 solutions, my parabola crosses the x-axis twice. 1 solution, it just touches the x-axis. It's tangent. That's what tangent means, touches. And then number 3, it never touches the x-axis. So there is no solution, okay? There we go. Those are our 3 different kind of choices. Okay, now going down. So this is ones that we were kind of looking at yesterday, where we were given a parabola and we had to find all these different attributes, okay? So again, we're given a parabola. It's not perfect, but you can kind of tell where each thing is, okay? So I put a star on these top 3 because these are the ones we're kind of focusing on this week, okay? These, I mean, they're important and we should be able to find them, but they're not. But the whole point is these are the new ones, right? These are the vertex. We haven't found that before this week. Axis of symmetry, we haven't found that before this week. So we're really going to focus on these 3, okay? So if we start with vertex, remember vertex is the highest or lowest point on the parabola. So just looking at this graph, it opens up, right? So that means we're going to have a lowest point. So I look to the lowest point on my graph and boom, there it is. So this is my vertex, okay? The lowest point is the vertex. So remember, how we write our answers is we write them as an ordered pair. So my ordered pair for this point is 2. That's my x value. And then we go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 2, -5. Okay, so I'm going to go up here, write my vertex as 2, comma, -5, just like that. Okay? And that's it. Vertex is easy. Now we go to axis of symmetry. Okay, so that's the imaginary line that divides my parabola in half. Okay? So if you remember the trick from yesterday, the easy way to find the axis of symmetry is you use this vertex. Okay? So what you do is you always start the axis of symmetry with x equals. Every single time. Your axis of symmetry should never start with a y. Never, 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 never. Okay? So we start the axis of symmetry with x equals, and then all we have to do is we take the x value from the vertex and put it right there. So I get x equals 2. Okay? Now, if say you weren't given the vertex, right? Say you didn't have to find the vertex and you still had to find the axis of symmetry. Okay? So what you would do, you would look on your graph, right? And you would see, like see how it's coming down, 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 and then goes back up? Wherever you can divide it in half, that's going to be your axis of symmetry. So ours would be right here. Right? Okay? So all we do is we know it's going to be, it's a vertical line, right? So it's a Vux line, which means it starts with x equals. It's a vertical line. And it's x equals, the x value is 1, 2. So we get x equals 2. Okay? So it's just the imaginary line that divides the graph in half. That's it. And it always starts with x equals. It should never start with y. Okay? Last thing. Well, not last thing, but third thing. So let's go to zeros. So remember, the zeros are where the parabola crosses the x-axis. Okay? So let's look at our graph, right? So the x-axis runs horizontal, right? It runs left to right. So if I want to find the zeros, we can start on the left, right? So we're going along the x-axis, we're going, and we want to see where it crosses the parabola. So boom, we see it crosses right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark that point, and I'm going to write the ordered pair down. So this ordered pair would be -3, so 1, 2, -3, comma, 0, okay? So this is one of my zeros, -3, comma, 0, okay? Now I'm going to keep going on my x-axis, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, and boom, I see another one. Okay, so I'm going to fill that in, and I'm going to write the ordered pair. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, comma, 0. So I'm going to write my other 0 as 5, comma, 0. Okay? So those are my two zeros, my two x-intercepts, my two solutions. Whatever you're asked, those are them. Those are them. Okay? So it could also be written as, they might just give you the numbers. So it might just be my zeros are -3 and 5, right? So they might give it to you like that. It just depends. So just kind of know both ways. So know the ordered pairs and also know just the answers, okay? And moving down to the last three things. So we have the domain, range, and y-intercept. So we'll start with the domain. So remember, the domain is the set of all x values, okay? So we read those from left to right, okay? So left to right. So from the left, is there a leftmost point on the graph? Because remember, see, the graph keeps going, keeps going, keeps going. So to the left, it's going to keep going forever and ever and ever and ever, okay? If I look to the right, my parabola is going to keep going on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, okay? So if it keeps going forever and ever in both directions, remember, we had a special way we called that. We called that all real numbers, okay? The domain is all real numbers because it extends to the left forever and it extends to the right forever, okay? So it consists of all real numbers, okay? Now for the range, okay? So the range, remember, that is the set of all y values, okay? Now remember, we go bottom to top, okay? So do I have a bottom y value? And then we'd say, yes, we do have a bottom y value, right? This is the lowest point on the graph, okay? So I have a bottom y value. So how I'm going to write that is we're going to say, so my bottom y value is -5, comma, remember, now do I have a top y value? Because we go bottom to top. Now if we follow this parabola, it has arrows that extend up forever and ever and ever and ever. So we can say that it does not have a highest y value. So we can write that like this, okay? This is one way of writing the range. Now we're getting into this a good amount later, so we can kind of practice writing the domain and range, but I just kind of want to show you an idea of it for now, okay? So my domain is all real numbers because it extends to the left forever, to the right forever. And the range is from -5, and remember we put a bracket because it's on the line, and -5 to infinity, right? It starts at -5 and it goes up and up and up and up forever, okay? And the last thing is the y-intercept. So remember, the y-intercept is where the parabola crosses the y-axis. Now we've seen this many times. So we look on the y-axis, we go down, go down, go down, boom, there it is. So what we need to do is we'll fill in that point. It's already filled in. And we're going to write the ordered pair, just like we did for the zeros and the vertex. So count down. So this point is going to be 0, comma, -4. So my y-intercept is going to be 0, comma, -4. Just like that. Okay? Now I know a lot of this may be kind of simple, okay? The only kind of tough part would be domain and range, but we'll get into that a lot later. We're not really going to focus on that this week. What I really want you to focus on is what I put the star around, these three right here, okay? You really need to be able to find the vertex, axis of symmetry, and zeros. Those are the key things for this week, okay? So that's all for today. I'll post your Google assignment. It's very, very similar to the one from yesterday. I used the same graphs. I just asked you to find different things. Okay, so remember, if you have any questions, just email me, or, well, email is probably the best, or just comment on Google Classroom, and I'll get right back to you. Okay, so y'all have a good day.